Welcome to Community Cocktails with Kimberly, hosted by Kimberly Woodard, a realtor who's been selling homes in North Texas with more than 21 years of experience. Join her every first and third Wednesday of the month as she meets with top community leaders, local businesses, and real estate industry experts to help you get to know the area you want to call home. Don't just love your home, love your community. And now your host, Kimberly Woodard.
Welcome, viewers, to this episode of Community Cocktails with Kimberly. I'm super excited to welcome you, my guest, and you are going to say, gosh, she looks familiar. Where did I know her from? Well, I have Kalee, Dionne Perry, here to talk about, she is a social media marketing strategist. But in her past life, she was, do we have guests?
Meteorologist.
Yes.
Yeah.
For Channel 8 here locally, but you also did other networks around. This was
Chicago, CNBC in New York and Kansas City, Birmingham, all over the place.
So she was always that one that we love to hate when the weather changed.
And I heard about it.
Yes. She was like, it's like, you predicted wrong.
You predicted wrong, or why is the weather bad, or why are you in front of my TV show and you're doing severe weather? Yeah. And rarely did I get thank you for the beautiful weather. But that's okay.
Of course not. Of course not. We always remember the bad.
At least I know you're watching, right?
Yes. Well, let's talk about, so you've been in the spotlight, which, now in the social media is same spotlight, but different kind of turnabout. So
yeah, it's essentially the same thing. And so kind of the journey of like how I pivoted here is, always through every station that I ever worked for from the beginning, right out of college, I was the one on the team that was very social media. I would push it. I remember when Twitter was first released, and I was saying, hey, we need to be putting out our, forecasts. We need to be talking to people on Twitter. And my chief meteorologist was like, I am not going to be doing that, And so I was always kind of seeing where the benefits were with social media for that and the television brand and, with TV. And so then, fast forward, one of the largest severe weather outbreaks in U.S. history happened in 2011. And I ended up speaking about how I was talking to people on social media and they were under overpasses. Where should I go? Oh, wow. And I was discussing with them, don't go under the overpass, go to the next exit, and telling them where they were compared to where the radar circulation was. Yeah. And so I spoke about how important it is that we develop one-on-one relationships. I mean, you don't have to talk to everybody, but it's important. And then, fast forward to Chicago, and I hosted a Instagram news show. And it was 50-second news clips on Instagram, and we won a Webby for it, which is Emmy for the web. And so I was always really into the social media and how we could use that to really reach more people and bring more people to the television. Because, over the course of the years that I've been in TV, more and more people just don't watch it. And that's just normal. And it's now moving toward, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all those other platforms. And so COVID happened and I was at home and one of my friends who owns a business, was paying some girl in Sweden to do his social media. Not that that's bad. Right. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I said, you know what, let me just do that for you. Yeah. I was broadcasting from home. I had a little bit more free time. And then I saw he would say, did you do that? And I was like, in like 3 seconds, and then I realized that where they're in marketing, marketing agencies, they look at the bigger picture, the digital marketing. Right. Social media was kind of just like an add-on and but now social media is becoming such a essential part to where you got to have somebody that sees how that filters in. Yes. You got to see all the parts and pieces and how you can take maybe one piece of content and use it 36 times. Right. And that is what I saw as a, opportunity and decided, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, this is the time. Yeah. And so, my husband's like, so you're just going to quit your job? Like, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to the pool and just like lay out. Like,
I'm just going to say,
not that that's bad either, because that's great. But I had a vision and I knew that there was something missing. And I said, this will work because this is where you need to be. It's no longer like, hey, I'm on Instagram and Facebook to see my family's photos. If you are a business, you need to be the anchor on those platforms.
Well, and I love you saying, it was something that you saw in COVID because so many people had pivoted directions in their careers and everything during COVID. You know, they kind of had time to reflect. What do they really want to do?
Yeah.
And what do they enjoy? And it sounds like that's what you were able to do. And there was something that you had already been building in the background always. And then all of a sudden, look where you are.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've created like 7 different YouTube channels between when YouTube was starting to be a big thing and now, but that were mine because I always knew like YouTube, this is where we need to be.
Right.
YouTube's my favorite platform, by the way, if you can't tell already.
Yes.
It is. If you don't have a YouTube channel, you need a YouTube channel. But yeah, so and I didn't realize with weather, we create all of our own graphics. So if you're watching the news and you're watching the weather, that is created by the meteorologists. They have built all of that from scratch. So we've built 2D, 3D graphics. So what I didn't realize is I was essentially a graphic designer.
Gotcha.
You don't realize that.
Yes.
Because you're in one lane. You're like, I'm making this for TV. And then another thing is we had to give the weather in 30 seconds. Okay? So you had to know whether you needed to wear pants and a long sleeve shirt or you needed to wear shorts and short sleeves, right? And you don't care about how many levels of the atmosphere and what's going on with the dew point. Like, you need to know
what I need to wear
what
today.
you need to wear today.
I'm walking out the door.
So taking all of that complicated information that I think is cool and giving you what you need. And that's what social media is. Social media is 140 characters or they are very short. You have a very short time frame, 10 to 15 seconds to tell people why they need to buy from you or why they need to use you. And so all of those tools that we use in television or that I use in television help somebody else that maybe didn't go through the 15 years in TV and didn't go to school for that. Like, I coach people and also help them see there's no bad content. Your picture of that plant over there, we can make that into something, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, it's no different than, you know, it's basically taking and elevating it to a different platform. Well, you say the newspaper, you know, it was always the headliner was what was going to be. You had to put in your first headline. You know, why do I care? Yeah, and otherwise people aren't going to dive in the rest, and they could probably get a lot from just that headliner and go on with their day. And that's what social media is. I mean, you can get a lot from that headliner. And then if you want to, you know, spend more time, you can dive down, and that's, you know, with the links and stuff that people put and all that good
Going
stuff.
down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
Which is what happens with me. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go look at this, and then I'm going to end up over here. And then I'm confused. It's like a squirrel.
No, I have to do this. Well, it'll be like when we were talking about cooking earlier. I made something, and she's like, well, let me show you hers, and it says failed.
Hashtag fail, like big time, like bad.
But I will go on, and that's how I find sometimes new recipes. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. I was like, and so I'll look at the picture. I'm like, ooh, this looks yummy.
Or you go to restaurants and you look up their food, what it looks like on Instagram. Like, show me what. If you don't have pictures, then I can't think clearly.
Right. Well, and that's, you know, when I'm taking, you know, I was making reservations when we were out for spring break at different places. And that's what I was doing is I was like, oh, like, you know, look at this food. You know, this is the restaurant we're going to, because that's what entices my boys is the food. And they're all about the food. And so if it looks good and sounds good, they're there. If it doesn't, then they're, you know, not.
and when we get on those platforms, like most people, you know, I don't know how you are, but you wake up in the morning and you grab your phone and you chill for a second while you're getting yourself out of bed and you're scrolling and you're in discovery mode. Like, you're ready for someone to sell you something and somebody to grab onto you. And that's, you know, you need to capitalize. It's a free like, unless you do social media advertising, which is great, it's a free place to be.
It is.
And you just have to be there consistently.
Well, let's talk about, you know, we were talking about this earlier too, the 4 content.
Yeah, 4 E's. So when I talk with people and whenever we're working with a client on their social media, I'll use this story for the end of time. You know, one of our previous clients was a bank, and they said, there is no way that you will get 5 posts a week for our bank. There's just no way. We don't need that package. We don't need to worry about that. And I said, you're too close to it. Watch. For 1 whole year, we did 5 days a week posts, never recycled, and they were all interesting content.
Wow.
Because you have to think about, you have to think down very simple. And I use the 4 E's because you want the content to be engaging, you want it to be emotional, They don't have to be at the same time,
Right.
but you want at least one of these behind it, educational and entertaining. So as long as there's one of those E's behind the post, whether it's a meme about Friday and how you're ready for the week to be over, or if it's emotional because you finally have that $1,000 in the bank that maybe you've worked the last 12 weeks to build up, or something that is going to capture them.
Right.
And then if you have that, you can build out a calendar where it's like, okay, today we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. And then you can sit there and I can bust out 3 weeks of content in a matter of an hour. Wow. Because if you use that to go behind it, then you're scheduled out and it doesn't feel like it's such a big deal. Yes. But consistency is huge. So using those 4 E's as the platform where you start, being consistent can go a lot farther than trying to jump on the trend or trying to put money behind it. As long as you are consistent, the platform learns who you are as a business better than you know yourself.
Gotcha.
And then it can push you to those eyeballs that need you.
Right.
They know that already.
Yeah.
Scary. Terrifying. You can use it to your advantage.
Well, it is scary because, I mean, when I'm, looking on, we all know I love my shoes.
Which you have really cute shoes on, by the way.
And then all of a sudden I am scrolling on my social media and I see an ad
for shoes.
For shoes. And it's a different, it's like the one I was looking at and then maybe something very, enticing to my, what I like. And I'm like, oh, and then I'm scrolling through that.
Social media is working. It is working.
It is working. It is working.
Yeah. And I mean, and we're all guilty of it. So it's like, if you're, and that's without spending a dime. Right. That social media platform is pushing you stuff based on of your activity.
Yes.
And so as long as you're posting consistently, if you're only posting, once, a week or once every 3 weeks, I mean, it can't learn because there's no engaging. There's no one stopping. It can even tell when somebody stops for like 3 seconds in the feed to look at what you've already posted.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it's amazing all the things that you can tell and they can tell.
Right.
To push you to more people like that.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. So if you are a business owner and you are like, oh, I'm not doing social media, maybe you need to rethink this. Because this is really, and what's also great about social media marketing is that you can do it now. Mm-hmm. It is instantaneous. It can get in front of, obviously a huge audience base in a matter of minutes versus anything else. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about the news and stuff. I mean, we know people that are using that as their platform to get the news and the news
they don't want to wait till 5.
Right. So they're, that's how they find out about things. Mm-hmm. It's, social media. It's not, turning on the news. So it is an amazing,
tool.
It is. It is. And everyone should be now using that. I mean, I think we'll start to see some of the other, we talked about this when we first met, we'll start to see some of the old school mailings and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I am the worst about getting my mail. So I did go get my mail out of my mailbox. And I don't know if anyone wants to know this, but it was like a week and a half. I do have a secure mailbox. So it's locked. It's really big, but I'm sure I'm sure my mail man was probably like, she better be getting the mail. Or I'm going to he has put a bucket on our porch. Anyways.
That is awesome.
So, but, I will say of all that mail, I probably pulled out, and this is, again, week and a half, 4 things. And the reason am I not is because all my bills come electronically. So nothing that I know that's urgent is going to be coming in mm-hmm. there. And it's usually just things that, I'm not that urgent about. So.
And I'm so sorry if you send mail to me that is a flyer of some advertisement. Yeah. I am immediately like, garbage.
Right.
And I hate, because I know you spent money on that. Yeah. And it's I hate to do that, but that's just it. I don't want papers. I'm a clean person. I just want papers to go in the garbage. Yep. My email is a little different, a little congested, but that's okay.
That's okay. I'm getting better on that. I mean, people will look at my phone and be like, have a heart attack when they see us. I'm like, well, I do have 3 email accounts too. So but I do have organization in my, on my main one with folders. So everything's labeled. So if I need to find something, I just go to my folder and it pops up. But that's, I'd rather be basically paperless than have a whole bunch of papers. I don't like papers anymore. It feels clutter.
I'll tell a story briefly about a client that we've had for more than a year, almost a year and a half now. And I said to her, it's not one of those things. I mean, if you think that you're going to go from like 800 followers to 18,000 followers in a matter of a month, then go find somebody else.
No,
I'm just going to tell you that right now. But it's a place you have to be in, but it will work. You have to give it time. And I said, give it time. And she's a photographer, and 7 months in, she called me and she says, it's working. And I was like, tell me why. I want to know. I want to know why you feel that way. And I know it's working, but, and she said, people are calling me and booking so far out because they think I'm so busy. Now, she is busy, but they think I'm more busy because of my Instagram and how much is going out on my Instagram and my Facebook page. So they're like, we got to get in. We got to get it booked well in advance.
Right.
And I said, there you go. She hasn't spent a dime on advertising. It's just organic Facebook posting and Instagram posting. And I said, there you go. It's a space that you have to live in now.
Yep.
It's not a, hey, let's do this for a few months. I have a firework company that I work with. And they're like, oh, you know what? We'll work with you, but we'll only post like a couple months before 4th of July. And I was like, that's not how this works.
No.
You have got to be in there talking about what you're doing, your products, whatever, all the time, so that when it comes time for them to need that,
you first.
Boom.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's for everybody.
Well, and I was at fireworks day. Now you see fireworks day. It's not just for 4th of July. I mean, people are using those for parties.
March Madness.
Yes. I mean, I know there's sometimes they do it for all the baseball games afterwards and stuff. It's amazing. New Year's.
Exactly.
So it's not just the 4th of July anymore.
and that's how every business should think. Like if you did mailers all the time and you did all that, you did that because you had to do that. Now it's like you have to do social media, and it needs to be a priority. It doesn't need to be an afterthought. And so I think after COVID, people saw that. Yeah. And now they're really starting to see, oh, okay, I may not understand this, but I see the potential and the point.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's kind of emphasize the 4 or 5 don'ts.
I love the don'ts. There's several don'ts. We could go on and on.
We'll do the top ones. There's a lot, but we're going to narrow it down to the top.
Okay, the first one, which we already talked about, is consistency. Don't just post once and think that you've done that and then come back later. So that's the biggest don't. Like, a lot of people think that they can just post, when it comes up to a time that makes sense or when they have something they feel is compelling. Right. Again, sometimes you're too close to it and there's no bad content. I will add, there is a YouTube channel, a guy running a YouTube channel out of Wisconsin, and he tapes his cows eating grass. And he's making over $1 million a year. That's great. Okay, there is no bad content. Can I say it again? Yes. There is no bad content. So always have something going out, even if you feel like, why do people care about this? Right. And even I'm guilty of it. I was on TV. It's easier for me to kind of do stuff. And I still sit in front of the camera for a while and go, okay, Kalee, people do care about this. Like, just do this Instagram live for 5 minutes. Like, I still have to coach myself because I'm too close to it. And I'm like, no one cares. But step back for a second and just put it out there. Number 2 is going to be deleting comments. Do not delete comments. Do not delete followers. The number one reason why you don't do that is because Instagram, Facebook, all of those platforms will put you in the jailhouse. Okay. Like, you'll get in trouble because they're really trying to get away from businesses pretending they have no bad reviews. Gotcha. And they want it to be more real. So if you delete, what will happen is, social media is all about playing the game organically, and you want a platform to help you as much as possible without spending a dime. You've immediately, if you start deleting, they won't show your content to anyone. They will suppress your content. Gotcha. Okay?
Can you hide them?
You can hide them and you can report them. Okay. So you can hide, you can report. That leads me to my next point about not deleting or not getting rid of them. Use it as a customer service tool. Okay. So the best way for me to describe it is being on TV. I got tons of bad emails or comments or stuff. Yeah. Well, your dress is too tight, or your dress is too big. You look like you have a box dress on. Like, all of the things you could possibly think of that happened to me. Right. And I never once deleted them or not responded. Gotcha. I would say, well, I have to pay for all my clothes. So if you want to give me some money, like, that would be great. Like, and then I had a fan for life. Yeah. Because I wasn't a jerk about it. And I also acknowledged that they said something to me. Right. Now, do we need to acknowledge discrimination, racism, like bad language? No. I am not saying that. But use it as a tool. we had, I have realtors in Georgia, and they had a comment on one of their new homes for sale, and it said they had a blue door on this house. Okay, first of all, I didn't really like the blue door, but that's a preference, right?
That's preference.
And somebody wrote on there, that blue door is hideous. I would never buy this house. And the lady was like, delete it. And I said, no. And I responded, what color would you put it? That's a great idea. Tell us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now we don't care what they say.
No,
We
but
don't care.
You're engaging, getting some feedback.
But now they comment on all the other stuff. So now you have somebody on the team, and then maybe if they have somebody buying the home, that they might be like, hey, this realtor I'm friends with on Facebook.
Right.
Again, it's all a customer service tool. So there's some lost causes, but okay, so that's number 2.
Okay.
Number 3 is going to be do not, and I repeat, do not do every trend. Okay? Be who you are. So be authentic to the brand. So you don't have to dance. You don't have to do all the crazy stuff.
Okay.
Yes, social media is all about being creative in a way that you can use a viral sound or like to get your message across.
Yeah.
But don't ever compromise what you're trying to do. So if you're, I work with doctors and they were like, we're not going to do this. I'm like, I'm never going to ask you to.
Right.
We're going to educate people. We're going to talk about cases. We're going to be interesting. We're going to do things in a way that you will never feel like you're having to be somebody you're not.
Yeah.
And a lot of people feel like they have to dance or they have to do all these things pressure. And you don't have to. Now, if you want to, and that's who you are, go for it. I'm not going to get against you on that, but just be authentic to who you are. And, another one is going to be, when you're on there, make sure that you are also commenting back and forth. So don't just post something and go ghost for a couple days. Okay. Make sure you're getting on there and engaging with people. Even if you go for me, my process is at night when I'm laying in bed before I go to bed, I go through and I comment a whole bunch. You don't have to go in there throughout the day, but you want to make sure that you're at least commenting back, because otherwise the people who then engage with your stuff are going to be like, she doesn't even look at it.
Gotcha.
He doesn't even look at it.
Right.
This business doesn't even care what I have to say. And again, you may not care, but you want to make sure that you're kind of, engaged in there. So that's 4, right?
Yes. So one more.
Okay, let's think of, because I have so many. I could literally pull out of a hat.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. So number 5, I would say is, make sure that you're posting at least once a day, and that you're posting, during the times that the platform has optimized, and they make it very easy for people, even if you don't have somebody looking at it. They, when you go to post, will give you optimal times that you can schedule. That is important, because that is when the people who engage with your stuff are engaging. Right. Okay. And it's really important. The first hour or 2 hours of your content being up can really map out how well that post does in the future. Okay. So that's the reason that timing is. So don't just say, why are they telling me this time? Really pay attention to that, and pay attention to any analytics. Don't just think analytics are there for fun. Analytics are there for you to see what content is doing well, and maybe you should do more of that.
Gotcha. Well, this has been very informative. So if anyone is interested, I know some of you have businesses out there, and you may be like, oh my gosh, I am now needing to really get my social media up to par. We will have Kalee's contact information here, so you can reach out to her. Thank you so much. It's so much fun. Yay. All right, here's to 2023. Yay. Rest of the year. Cheers.
Let's go.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify, as well as Kimberly's YouTube channel. If you'd like to contact Kimberly directly, you can email her at kimberlywoodard@ebby.com or call 214-632-2092. We hope you enjoyed our guest this week, and remember, don't just love your home, love your community.